My girlfriend of 3 years said the sweetest revenge is making someone grateful for their own destruction. I just realized she wasn't talking about other people. I need to process what I have discovered about the woman I thought I was going to marry. 6 months ago, Bella told me the sweetest revenge is making someone grateful for their own destruction during a conversation about toxic relationships. I thought she was being philosophical. Now I understand she was describing her methodology. I have been in love with Bella since high school, that obvious, pathetic teenage obsession everyone knew about. She was 3 years older, beautiful, popular, completely out of my league. She graduated while I spent my remaining years convinced I had missed my only shot at real love. 3 years ago, I had built a successful consulting business and was doing well financially. At a friend's birthday party, Bella appeared like destiny. She looked exactly the same but this time noticed me. "Gabriel Morrison," she said with a warm smile. "Look how you turned out. That night felt like a dream." When she said she had always thought I was sweet but had been too immature to appreciate genuine kindness, I felt like the universe had aligned. We started dating, became exclusive within 2 months. For 3 years, I lived what I thought was my happily ever after. Bella moved into my apartment. I covered expenses. We traveled together, talked about marriage and kids. I bought jewelry, surprised her with trips, helped through career transitions. When she mentioned loving a neighborhood, I started house hunting. When she wanted Europe, I planned a month-long trip. Her best friend Charlotte was always around, polite, but somehow amused by our relationship in ways I couldn't place. 3 weeks ago, Charlotte came over for their Friday wine session. I was working late when I heard Charlotte's voice get louder with alcohol. Poor Gabriel still doesn't know he has been played for 3 whole years. I froze. "The pity date that became a 3-year con," Charlotte continued. "I cannot believe you have kept it up this long." "It has been more profitable than I expected," Bella replied, her voice colder than I had ever heard. "He is so grateful for everything. Sometimes I think he would thank me for destroying him if I did it sweetly enough." What followed destroyed everything I had believed. Bella had never gotten over her amusement at my high school crush. When she saw me successful and financially stable, still clearly attracted, she saw opportunity, not destiny. 3 years of fake everything, she told Charlotte. Fake interest in his boring stories, fake enthusiasm for his terrible movies, fake orgasms because he is so pathetically grateful. They discussed my investment like I was a generous ATM. Every trip, gift, expense, cataloged and calculated. But learning about her year-long affair broke me completely. Someone she actually desired, meeting in my apartment while I traveled. "The best part is he wants to propose," Bella said. "After I marry him and divorce in a few years, I will never have to work again." I sat listening to the woman I loved describe our relationship as a long-term financial scam, feeling something fundamental break inside me. When Charlotte left, Bella performed our usual routine, kissing me goodnight, asking about work, telling me she loved me. I looked into eyes I had gazed into for 3 years and realized I was staring at a complete stranger. For 3 weeks, I have existed between realities. Bella continues her flawless performance, while I see the calculation behind every gesture, how she steers conversations toward my successes, mentions expensive things, times affection with spending. Yesterday's overheard phone call confirmed everything. Her voice had warmth I had never heard when talking to me. "Just a little longer, and we can stop hiding. Once I get what I need from this situation, we can be together properly." I have been living inside an elaborate performance for 3 years. Every treasured moment was scripted by someone who saw me as a resource to exploit rather than a person to love. The woman who taught me about making someone grateful for their own destruction has been systematically destroying me while making me thank her for the privilege. I thought I was living a love story. Turns out I was just funding someone else's life while losing my own sense of reality. Update 1. Thank you to everyone who helped me understand that what I experienced wasn't just regular relationship deception, it was systematic financial and emotional abuse. After days of wrestling with whether to confront Bella directly, I decided I needed more clarity about the scope of her deception before making any decisions. I spent a week quietly observing her behavior with new eyes, and what I discovered was even more disturbing than what I had already learned. The performance was flawless and constant. Every morning, she'd wake up and slip seamlessly into the role of loving girlfriend. She would ask about my meetings, remember details about my projects, show concern when I was stressed. She would suggest restaurants for date nights, then casually mention she had been wanting to try somewhere expensive. She had initiate physical intimacy at strategic moments, usually after I had done something generous or when she wanted something. I started paying attention to patterns I had never noticed before. How she would become especially affectionate right before rent was due. How she would mention financial stress right before my bonus payments came through. How she would suggest weekend trips right after I had had particularly successful work periods. But what devastated me most was realizing that even our most intimate moments had been calculated. Conversations I had treasured as evidence of our deep connection, times when she had opened up about her fears and dreams, were manipulation techniques designed to make me feel special and trusted. She had told me I was the only person who truly understood her, that I saw parts of her she had never shown anyone else, that our relationship had healing power because I accepted her completely. All lies. Strategic lies designed to make me invest more emotional energy in someone who saw me as a resource rather than a human being. After a week of this horrible clarity, I couldn't maintain the pretense anymore. Last Friday night, after Charlotte had left from another one of their wine sessions, I decided to have the conversation. "Bella," I said, "we need to talk about something important." She immediately slipped into concerned girlfriend mode. "Of course, babe. What is going on?" I looked at her, really looked at her, trying to find any trace of the real person underneath the performance. "I heard your conversation with Charlotte last week, about the pity date and the 3-year con for just a moment." Her mask slipped. I saw something flicker across her face. Not guilt or shame, but irritation that she had been caught. Then the performance resumed. But different. Desperate girlfriend mode. "Oh God, Gabriel. You have to understand. Charlotte was just being dramatic. You know how she exaggerates when she drinks." She reached for my hands, her eyes filling with tears. I know it sounded terrible, but she was twisting things, making jokes about stuff that isn't funny. "What about the part where you discussed fake orgasms and called me pathetic?" The tears came faster. "I never said that. Maybe Charlotte said something crude. But I would never. Gabriel, you have to know. I would never talk about you that way." I watched her deploy every manipulation technique she had perfected over 3 years. The tears, the trembling voice, the way she positioned herself to look small and vulnerable. She reached for our shared history, our inside jokes, our future plans, weaponizing every meaningful moment we would supposedly shared. "Think about everything we have built together," she said. "Think about Paris last spring, about the house we have been looking at, about the life we are planning. Would I fake all of that? Would I waste 3 years of my life if I didn't love you?" But I had heard her real voice. I had heard her laugh about wasting 3 years that had actually been quite profitable. "What about your phone call yesterday?" I asked. "The one where you told someone you just needed a little longer to get what you needed from this situation." This time, the mask didn't just slip. It shattered completely. The tears stopped. The vulnerable posture straightened. And for the first time in 3 years, I saw Bella's real face. "How long have you been spying on me?" she asked, and her voice was cold in a way that made my skin crawl. "I wasn't spying. I live here. You were having a conversation in our living room." She studied me for a long moment, and I could practically see her calculating whether she could still salvage her position or if she needed to switch strategies entirely. She chose a different approach, one that revealed just how little she understood about basic human decency. "Fine," she said. "You want honesty? Here is honesty. Yes, I started dating you because you were successful and clearly still hung up on me. Yes, I saw an opportunity for financial stability while I figured out my actual life. The casual cruelty of it was breathtaking. But that doesn't mean I don't care about you," she continued. "People use each other in relationships all the time. You got to feel like you finally won the girl you couldn't have in high school. I got financial security and someone who treated me well. It has been mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Bella, you have been lying to me about every aspect of your feelings for 3 years. She shrugged. Actually shrugged. Like we were discussing the weather. "I never lied about my feelings. I just didn't correct your assumptions about them. You assumed I felt the same way you did. I never explicitly said I was in love with you the way you are in love with me. This was gaslighting at a level I didn't know existed. She was rewriting our entire relationship history, claiming that 3 years of I love you exchanges and future planning had been one-sided assumptions on my part. You told me you loved me every day for 3 years. I do love you, she said. The way you love a comfortable pair of shoes or a reliable car, you have been useful and pleasant. That is a form of love. I felt something die inside me, not just my love for her, but my faith in my ability to recognize authentic human connection. What about the other guy? I asked. For the first time, her composure cracked slightly, not with shame, but with frustration that she had been caught in the more complicated part of her scheme. That is separate, she said. That is about passion and chemistry, things you and I were never going to have. But passion doesn't pay bills or provide stability. I was trying to have the best of both situations until I could transition from one to the other. The coldness of her logic was staggering. She had been treating human beings like investment options in a diversified portfolio. Did you think I had never find out? Honestly, she looked at me with something approaching pity. I thought you were too grateful to question anything too deeply. You were so happy to finally have me that I didn't think you had risked losing me by digging too hard. That is when I understood the full scope of her manipulation. She hadn't just been exploiting my feelings. She had been exploiting my insecurities, my self-worth, my fear of losing someone I thought I had been lucky to get. She had been systematically training me to be grateful for whatever attention she gave me, no matter how conditional or calculated. I stood up and walked toward the bedroom. Where are you going? She asked. To pack some things. I need time to think. Gabriel, don't be dramatic. We can work this out. We can establish better boundaries. Be more honest about expectations. I turned around and looked at her one last time. Bella, you spent 3 years treating me like a resource to be exploited. You faked every intimate moment, lied about every feeling, and planned to marry me just to divorce me and take half my assets. There is nothing to work out. But think about everything you would be throwing away, she said. 3 years of building something together. All our plans, all our shared experiences. We never built anything together. You built a performance, and I funded it. As I packed a bag, I could hear her on the phone with Charlotte, her voice returning to that calculating tone I had heard the week before. She wasn't calling to process the emotional devastation of our relationship ending. She was calling to strategize damage control. I have been staying at a hotel for the past week, trying to figure out my next steps. Bella has been texting constantly, sometimes apologetic, sometimes angry, sometimes attempting to negotiate some kind of arrangement where we could continue our relationship with better communication about expectations. But I finally understand something crucial. You cannot negotiate with someone who sees you as an object rather than a person. You cannot find middle ground with someone who has been systematically exploiting your humanity while offering nothing genuine in return. The hardest part is accepting that the relationship I treasured never actually existed. Every memory I thought we shared was just me experiencing genuine emotion while she delivered a performance. But I am beginning to understand that this revelation, as painful as it is, might be the most important thing that has ever happened to me. For the first time in 3 years, I am seeing reality clearly, instead of living inside someone else's manipulation. Update 2, I didn't need to plan anything. Bella's carefully constructed world started collapsing the moment I stopped funding it. Within 48 hours, reality hit her hard. The apartment lease was in my name, utilities on my credit cards, and she had 2 weeks to figure out alternatives or face homelessness. Her first strategy was manipulation. The texts started immediately. Apologies, promises to change, threats of self-harm, guilt trips about abandoning her. When emotional manipulation failed, she switched to practical negotiation, suggesting financial partnerships and gradual payback plans. Every suggestion involved me continuing to subsidize her lifestyle while she figured out her transition plan. I responded to none of these messages. Meanwhile, I learned through mutual friends how extensive her deception had been. The marketing job. She had been fired 8 months ago and freelancing sporadically while pretending to go to the office daily. The secret relationship. That man discovered he wasn't her only side relationship. She had been running similar schemes with multiple men simultaneously. Charlotte called me directly, finally admitting her discomfort with how far things had gone. She described conversations where Bella mocked my generosity, strategized extraction methods, and had been researching marriage and divorce laws for asset division. She saw it as a career choice, Charlotte told me. I think she genuinely believed she could marry you, have kids, and maintain the performance indefinitely. Charlotte warned me Bella was becoming desperate and unpredictable, planning some dramatic gesture. Sure enough, Bella showed up at my office claiming to be my fiancée with a family emergency. When I went downstairs, she was in full performance mode, designer dress, perfect makeup, vulnerable expression. Several colleagues were watching as she announced, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I am pregnant." The lie was transparent and desperate. We had used protection consistently. She had had her period before I moved out, and this revelation was suspiciously timed with her financial crisis. "Congratulations. I hope everything works out for you," I said, turning to leave. She grabbed my arm. "How can you be so cold? This is your child, Bella. We both know that is not true. And we both know why you are really here." Her mask slipped completely. The tears stopped. Vulnerable expression vanished, and I saw pure rage. "You are going to regret this. You think you are better than me, but you are nothing special. You are convenient. That is all. And now you are not even that." That incident revealed someone fundamentally disconnected from reality, believing she could lie her way back into control even after being completely exposed. The woman who spent 3 years extracting resources from multiple people simultaneously is now facing the consequences of burning every bridge built through lies. Final update. This will be my final update about Bella, because I am ready to close this chapter completely. Several people suggested that the best response to systematic manipulation isn't elaborate revenge. It is stepping away and letting natural consequences unfold. They were absolutely right. I didn't need to orchestrate Bella's downfall. Her house of lies was already collapsing under its own weight. Within days of my departure, her carefully constructed world fell apart. The property manager called about lease modifications. Her secret relationships imploded when the men started comparing notes, and her family learned the truth through Charlotte, who distanced herself from potential legal implications. Her parents, devastated by learning their daughter had been conducting financial fraud disguised as romance, insisted she enter therapy to address what they recognized as sociopathic behavior patterns. What struck me most was how quickly everything collapsed once she couldn't rely on my financial support. The lifestyle she had maintained, apartment, shopping, dining, travel, had all been subsidized by someone she viewed as a convenient resource. Meanwhile, I have been rebuilding my sense of reality and self-worth through therapy. I have learned about trauma bonding, financial abuse, and psychological exploitation patterns I never knew existed. The most important insight, Bella's capacity for deception, wasn't a reflection of my naivety. It was evidence of her fundamental inability to form authentic human connections. Normal people don't have the psychological makeup to maintain such elaborate lies for years. Her ability to sustain this performance wasn't evidence of superior intelligence or my inferior judgment. It was evidence of a profound psychological disorder that allowed her to view human beings as objects to be manipulated. 6 months ago, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. Now I understand I was unlucky to encounter someone capable of such systematic exploitation. But in a strange way, I am grateful. This experience taught me to recognize authentic connection by showing me its absence. It forced me to develop stronger boundaries and clearer standards for how I allow people to treat me. Most importantly, it showed me that my capacity for genuine love and generosity, qualities Bella exploited, are actually strengths, not weaknesses. The problem wasn't that I loved too much. The problem was directing those qualities towards someone incapable of reciprocating them. I am dating again now, slowly and carefully. I am better at recognizing red flags and distinguishing between someone who appreciates my generosity and someone who exploits it. The woman who told me the sweetest revenge is making someone grateful for their own destruction ultimately destroyed herself by systematically destroying every authentic relationship in her life. I learned that sometimes the sweetest victory is walking away with your dignity intact and your capacity for genuine connection stronger than before. I never got the storybook ending I thought I wanted with Bella, but I got something more valuable: Knowledge that I deserve authentic love from someone capable of offering it. And that knowledge is worth more than anything Bella could have taken from me. Edit. To everyone asking about closure, I don't need it from her. Closure comes from understanding what happened and choosing to move forward. Edit 2. For those suggesting I was too nice, being generous and trusting aren't character flaws. Meeting someone who exploits those qualities is unfortunate, but it doesn't mean I should become cynical. Edit 3. Thank you to everyone who shared similar experiences. Manipulative people often target kind, successful individuals because we have resources they want to access. We are not weak for being targeted, just unfortunate to cross paths with someone whose psychology is fundamentally damaged.